पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। नीलाम्बुजश्यामलकोमलाङ्गं सीता समारोपितवामभागं पाणौ महासायकचारुचापं नमामि रामं रघुवंशनाथम्. Adorations to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side. He is carrying powerful bow and arrow in his hands. Shri Ramcharitmanas by Shri Swami Tulsidas in Ayodhya Kanda, verse number 28. The context at this stage is Kaikeyi is ready to ask for two boons, two fingers. And the subtle insights involved are very unique. Just to give you a simple understanding, King Dasharatha was going to coronate Rama, declaring him to be the heir apparent to the throne. The news is so joyous, the entire Ayodhya is celebrating. But real celebration is possible when there is perfect integration. Understand, the Ramayana has to operate in every individual. So don't wait for some future happening. Every soul plays the same role of assimilating Jesus, Buddha, Rama. Every soul is essentially Brahman. So keep that understanding. And Dasharatha is your soul. Your soul equipped with wonderful karmas. Karmas that allows the soul to match up with Indra according to the storyline. Indra is the source of giving all pleasures in the world of cycle of birth and death. But all the pleasures and all the joys you can have in the world, they are expressions of sickness because they are going to be taken away. Nothing is permanent in the world. That's called bhoga, enjoyment. Enjoyment is not the goal. The soul now comes into a state. Of course, in a storyline, King Dasharatha was helping Indra to conquer demoniac enemies, which are impurities of the mind. And at that time, Dasharatha became unconscious by the dark forces who attacked him. Kaikeyi helped Dasharatha's queen, one of the three queens, And because Kaikeyi helped him so much, make him survive, he asked her, rather he said he will give 2 boons to Kaikeyi. And Kaikeyi at that time told him, I will keep it in reserve, those boons. Storyline goes on, but simple meaning is there are 4 aspects in every individual. Consider your personality has 4 parts. Karma, action, is like your feet moving. Bhavana, feeling. Will aspect that allows your mind to be under control or under good direction. And jnana. Jnana is ultimate knowledge, revelation of the truth. That's the role of your reasoning, pure intellect. Your intellect, your will, your feeling, your action, these 4, they are Rama. Rama is pure intellect, wisdom. Bharata, pure feeling, bhakti, devotion. Lakshmana, pure will. Shatrugna, that movement that purifies your karma, that removes malas, gross impurities. In other words, you must understand the role of 4 yogas in your life. Action turning into karma yoga. Sentiments coming in tune with bhakti yoga, devotion. Willing guided by Raj Yoga, the royal path of meditation. And jnana, the highest, the climax of all the insight you gain from the scriptures. And jnana is the ultimate goal. All these 4 remain disintegrated in human personality. But if you are sincere aspirant under good guidance, all the 4 begin to follow a divine project. And all the 4 become interrelated. Your actions help you to develop devotion to God. Your devotion helps you to perform better actions. And so forth. So, if you celebrate your victory without bringing integration in your personality, celebrating victory everybody likes. Proposal is very enjoyable. So that's the storyline is the proposal is presented. When you start studying scriptures, that proposal is presented to you. Having read the scripture for a month, now you develop the proposal is now to be effective. So you tell your heart to celebrate it. If you are on the right track, your proposal will not succeed. And it will be good for you. Because what's needed is the integration. So instead of celebrating and using all the energy in celebration, Allow your energy to bring about integration. Integration implies Bharata, Rama's brother Bharata, which symbolizes devotion. Devotion to play a profound role. He is to rule over Ayodhya, not as an absolute ruler, but as someone who will give that kingdom to Rama. Bharata to rule in order to allow Rama to ultimately be the ruler. Bhakti to come into your heart, to allow moksha, liberation, to be your goal. Simple point. And for that purpose, two types of spiritual sadhana must move. One, devotion to God. Along with Bharata is Shatrughna. Shatrughna is literal meaning, Shatru is enemies, which are kama, krodha, all the gross impurities. Those impurities are to be sublimated. So bhakti, devotion, along with purification, that one part of sadhana. Another part, a dynamic movement of disciplining your senses, your mind, your unconscious, all together is in Ramayana. You will find Rama creates an army of monkeys and bears. Rama is soul within you that has gone to it, is shining with wisdom. When the wisdom begins to shine, a dynamic movement develops of controlling your senses, controlling your mind, building a bridge between conscious and the unconscious, and allowing sita is a discriminative intellect, to join with soul, that's Rama. With this, let me go on to give you what's going on. But that's the general plan. In a storyline, it is a tragic situation. And blame goes on Kaikeyi. And thereby blame goes on all women of the world who create trouble in their families. Bhup manorath subhag banu, sukha subihang samaju, bhillini jimi chadan chahati, vachanu bhayankaru baju. It's a poetic description. The king was so happy that Rama was going to be successor to the throne. His mind was like a beautiful forest. And his happiness was in the form of countless beautiful birds dancing in the forest. Those beautiful birds, now what happens? There comes a wild tribe woman, Kaikeyi, with a hawk in her hand. Old time hunting was done with the help of hawks. They keep the hawk with a bandage on their eyes, on the eye of the hawk. And when the object of hunting, the prey is nearby, then the bandage opens and the hawk goes after. And Kaikeyi is as if playing that role. the joyous set of King Dasharatha, the mind. And now that joyousness is being cut down by two boons. सुनहु प्राण प्रिय भावत जी का, देहु एक बर भरत ही टीका. She says to King Dasharatha in very endearing words, O beloved Lord, give me first boon, that may Bharata, my son, become the successor to your throne. And I'm also asking for the second boon, with folded hands and with bowed head. Now, philosophical way to understand. Now comes a stage led by your good sadhana. You are not allowed to become so absorbed with your pleasure, but vichar movement, a subtle energy that operates in you, vichar shakti, that allows you to reflect upon and evaluate every situation. That vichar movement is Kaikeyi. And Kaikeyi is whispering into the ears of King Dasharatha that don't lose yourself in this enjoyment. Turn to what is practical. And the first stage, it seems like a big blow to all wonderful dreams you created. And therefore, this whole story at this stage, 90% is painted in a pathetic way. And people end up cursing Kaikeyi for all the trouble in Ramayana. They don't realize if she was not there, Ravana wouldn't be dead. Rama will not really gain the glory for which he is worshipped. Philosophically, if vichar shakti, if an inquiring movement within your mind that's performed by intellect that is pure intellect is a silent, detached observer and begin to evaluate your own progress. And so, even while the mind is enjoying, the pure intellect taps over the mind, says, wait. It's not too much of enjoyment. Don't lose your energy in enjoyment. Plan for your sadhana. Do more study, more japa, more seva, more sadhana. Now coming back to storyline. The second boon that I ask, तापस वेश विशेषी उदासी 14 वर्ष राम बनवासी सुनि मृदु बचन भूप ही सोकु शशिकर छुअत बिकल जिमि कोकु. Second boon, may Rama go into forest for 14 years. It's old-time psychological insight that complete change can occur in a person if a person stays steady and perseverant in any sadhana for 14 years. That again is allegorical. You can do that in 14 days, depending upon your level of evolution. So, but to be sure, 14 word has been used. Just like we use these days, 24, 7. सुनि मृदु बचन भूप ही शोकु शशिकर छुअत बिकल जिमि कोकु. These tender and soft words coming from Kaikeyi. The very touch of that word in his heart created a tremendous shock. Shok words come from shock. Just as another mythical description, there is a special type of bird called chakor or chakravak. It has such fancy for the moon that the moment the rays of moon touch the bird becomes out of itself. It becomes mad. And if it is separated from the moon, it will die. King Dasharatha came to the same situation. The idea of being separated from Rama was just like the bird being separated from the moon. गए सहा भी नहीं कछु कही आवा जनु सचान बन झपटे उलावा. The king became so perplexed. He didn't know what to say. Just, it's like a beautiful bird, a dove type, graceful, soft, being attacked by a terrible hawk. At that time, the dove forgets about its balance of mind. All the fright that enters the dove you can imagine. That's the figurative description of what has happened to King Dasharatha's mind. The very color of his complexion changed. His joyous face suddenly became blank. As if a palm tree has been destroyed by a lightning flash. माथे हाथ मूदी दौलोचन तनुधरि सोच लाग जनु सोचन. He placed both hands on his head, closed his eyes, completely overpowered by grief. And he began to think within himself, alas, this beautiful tree of my wish, that was like Kalpavriksha, that is to give kingdom to Rama, that would fulfill all my desires, That beautiful tree was about to give flower. Now, how did this big elephant, Kaikeyi, strike against it, to eradicate it, cut it down from its very root? Avadu jari in Kaikeyi, dinhisi achal vipati ke nei. This Kaikeyi has turned Ayodhya into a barren desert. And she has made a foundation for a mountainous misery. Kavane avsar ka bhayav gayam nari vishwas yoga siddhi phala samay jimi jati avidya nash. Expression of his great frustration. What was I expecting? A wonderful occasion of joy. And now, because of my trusting this woman, Kaikeyi, I have been hit in such a way, just like yogis led by their love for siddhi, they expect to attain the highest goal. But what happens? Ignorance comes in and distorts the mind of the yogi. Yogi, instead of going after liberation, he goes after attaining psychic powers. This is a tragic situation. Simple message is given. Message is that you practice all your spiritual disciplines not to acquire certain psychic power that fascinates your mind. You heard about certain type of power. The power of knowing what's cooking in somebody's house. I'm joking. The power in knowing the heart of others. Power of different types. Those powers may seem so fascinating, but it is your ego's attitude, your ego's evaluation. Ego-based expectations are nothing. You are simply deluded. So give up a higher type of project, higher sadhana for purifying your heart for the sake of little power. Just to give you an episode, a yogi practiced intense sadhana for 9 or more years. As a result, he gained the power, and that was his idea, to gain it, to render the body so light by the power of will that you can walk over a river. And ultimately he gained it. His discipline was very powerful, very sustained, very terrible. And nearby his house there was a little lake, and he started walking over it. But then he looked around. He said, I'm alone. Nobody has seen what I have attained. I must go viral. So he looks for an opportunity, goes to a to Ganges river, where people cross by a boat, and the boats were ready, filled with pilgrims who had to cross the Ganges. But then the boatman took some taxes, some little money from everybody. Right at that time, this man comes in, the yogi, just at the time when the boat is to start. And he starts in front of them, walking over with a great joy, hands up, saying some things, blabbering, and walking over the water. There was a wise man who read his mind, a psychologist type. The wise man asked him, "How long did it take you to develop this power, the power to walk on water?" He said, 9 terrible years. The man took a little, bring a lot of penny. It is penny worth, because I can simply give a penny and cross the river. It took 9 years just to cross the river. To understand the moral behind it, don't put all your energy and your sacrifice for trifles of this world. Do the same for developing devotion to God. Allow yourself to assimilate spiritual knowledge, not to go after what your ego fancies for. Because if you fulfill your ego gets more and more inflated. But when you develop devotion to God, you allow your ego to be in a healthy state. Ego becomes purified, transparent, and so forth. Yahi vidhi rau manahi man jhanka, देखी कुमी कुम्हाती पुमति मन माखा भरत की राउर पूत न हो ही आने हु मोल बेसाही की मोही. King continued in his reflective state of mind, expressing tremendous frustration in his face. Seeing this, the king was not responding. Kaikeyi internally became angry with him. She spoke out. "Isn't Bharata your son? Or did you bring me to you as your wife by purchasing from the market?" There's profound, subtle meaning behind that statement. Karmic movements are purchased movements. You are purchasing from the world process by your karmas. You pay karma and it gives you karma phala. Vichar movement is not a purchase. When you reflect upon who am I, you don't buy it from others. It comes from your deepest source. So Kaikeyi and Bharata have not been bought from the market. vichar and bhakti, they are the innate reality. So you must understand how little things are done and there is a deeper meaning. जो सुनी सरु अस लागा तुम्हारे, काहे न बोलहु बचनु संभारे. If my words have hit you like arrows, why didn't you reflect upon it? Why did you say, I will give, I'm going to give what you are asking? You have given vachan, you have given your promise, you have given your word. Giving your word again from mystical point of view means creating a resolve. Internally creating resolve, I will attain enlightenment. That resolve is based on the fact that really you are Brahman intrinsically. And therefore the vachan you are making is in harmony with the truth. Once you have made that type of promise within yourself, you have given word, prana jai baru vachana na jai, live to fulfill it. Let life itself end, it doesn't matter. Pursue the fulfillment. If life ends, you are not losing. You will be progressing. Soul is constantly benefited. But never turn away from what you have made. Turn away from your resolve of attaining God realization. That's some simple meaning. God realization should be the highlight. Never turn away from it. If you have that type of resolve, you belong to the line of Rama. You are connected with that type of soul. You are a divine, you are a hero, Dhira. You are Suryavanshi. You belong to sun. Sun is again spiritually light of lights, wisdom. देन कहेहु अब जनि बरु देहु, तजहु सत्य जग अपसे अपजसु लेहु. You asked me to present the boons that I were to ask you, you permitted me. And now, the way your face shows, you don't want to give the boons. Okay, give up your truth. The great pride that you have, that you follow the truth, prana jai varu bachana na jai. You belong to that line of kings who do not turn away from what they have said. They will lose their life. Satya sarahi kahehu barudena. Speaking about how truthful you are. You asked me to present my boons that I were going to ask you. What did you think? That I will be asking some chabeda? Some sadhans? Two boons, two types, spinach and radish. शिविदधी की बलि जो कुछ भाषा तनु धनु तजे उपचन पनुराखा. And she reminds him of great exemplary personalities. King Shivi, Dadichi, Bali, they belong to the line of Rama. And they performed amazing acts of sacrifice led by the word they had given. But all those stories are highly mystical. They have nothing to do with history. And I will just give you a very summary of it. King Shivi was a righteous king. If you become too righteous, you come into trouble. You are tested. Is your righteousness to stay in the world, or is your righteousness is for attaining liberation? So in divine plan, Indra and fire god, they took up this project of testing. Indra presenting to, in Indra symbolizing bhoga, enjoyment in the world. Fire god symbolizing vairagya, dispassion. Bhoga and vairagya, they come together as two birds. Indra comes as a hawk, and fire god comes as a little dove. First, dove comes into the arms of the king. He says, please, I have taken refuge in you. And Shivi says, I have granted the refuge. But now this is Raghukul Bachan. He has made the word. But hardly he has pronounced that word, hawk comes. And he says, how can you take away my prey? I'm hungry. And the king says, I will give you food. Again he made another word. All right, he says, you have to give me the food that I want. Give me the bird or give me your own flesh, matching up to the weight of the bird. In the storyline, the weighing scale was brought. One side is bird is put, another side he goes on chopping his limbs, putting it. Story is enjoyable. Nobody questions it. How can that be done? The most part of the body was earth and still didn't match up with the weight. He puts himself complete on the scale. And then he passes the examination. Both gods emerge and say, you have passed, you are fit for attaining liberation. Now, subtler meaning behind it. In order to attain liberation, you must be ready. Your mind must work upon, I am not the body. Start with just limbs of the body. But place the entire body. Dehadhyas, identity with the body has to be sacrificed in order to please the dove movement, the gracious movement of Viveka and Vairagya. the movement that allows your soul to be saved from the hawk movement, the hawk that cuts down your vairagya and puts you in a world of time and space. Figure that out. It's a powerful story. Another story is Dadhichi. There arose a demoniac personality called Vritra. Gods were extremely terrorized by Vritrasur. The remedy was if he were to obtain Dadhichi's bone, and bone were to turn into Vajra, thunderbolt, then that Vritrasur will be killed by the Dadhichi, bones of Dadhichi. Dadhichi is Mahatma, his bones is non-violence, absolute non-violence. That's his bone. Ahimsa paramo dharma. And Vritrasur, Tra is three aspects of relative consciousness. That's the world we live in. The three things have twisted around. Who am I? What's the nature of the world? And what's the value of our experiences of pleasure and pain? All these three are never in a healthy way if ignorance rules your mind. So you are dominated by Vritrasur. That Vritrasur, virtuous qualities in you, they are gods. The gods must come to a stage of possessing the highest virtue of absolute non-violence. And that's the subtle meaning behind the story. In storyline, gods to go to Dadhichi, and Dadhichi ultimately agrees to give whatever they want for helping gods. And then they ask for, give me your bones. And Dadhichi goes into meditation and allows the bones to be taken away. There is a whole detailed story, creating more spicing to the story. People watch for hours, every little thing that goes on with Dadhichi. And finally Vritrasur is destroyed by his bones. Nothing else could have destroyed. See, remember that KKE brings in all these stories. Another story is Bali. A demon king became very powerful, but he was very proud of being generous. Taking advantage of his pride, God comes, Lord Vishnu, appears like a dwarf and asks Bali, give me land for me to live in because I have nowhere to go. He says, oh, ask. With great pride, he says. He says, I don't want much. I want only 3 steps. Bali shouts at him, you are as squeezed in your as your body is. Your body is dwarf and your understanding is also very dwarf. Ask big things. He said, oh no, just give me that. Okay, Bali says, I'm giving you. Now, he said, look where my feet goes. One step, he measures the entire world. Second step, he measures all the higher worlds. Third step remains ineffective. Says, what should I do with my third step? Bali now comes to realize his deeper vision, understands what the situation. He says, put it on my head. Surrender to God transcends all the three worlds. Imagine, Kaikeyi is quoting all those things. अति कटु बचन कहती कैकेयी, मानहु लोन जरे पर देई. But in this state of transition, the mind that has been so enjoying so many things, and sudden rang mein bhang, sudden change, it appears like someone has a boil. Sometimes you get burned and a boil develops. And an inimical nurse comes to you with a little salt. Put salt. It's a terrible treatment. So that's how King Dasharatha felt. धर्म धुरंधर धीर धरि नयन उघारे राय, सिर धुनि लीन उसास अथि मारे सी मोहि कुठाय. King Dasharatha, who always supported dharma, opened his eyes and with his hands beat upon his head, taking a long breath. He said to himself, this cruel one has hit on me as an axe. I can't save myself. There's no way to escape it. And there will be more descriptions of that. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ramayana Namah Shivaya.